Hey, producer here. Aisha had an amazing conversation with her friend Lauren Salaun as a guest on her podcast, Amplify. So the tables are turned and Aisha is being interviewed. They dive into so many great topics. Please enjoy this special Part 2 episode with Lauren Salaun.
Let's talk about the intuition stuff. So you said that one of your superpowers is intuition, same, and that it's unmatched. Like, I have so many things on that, but has that been something you've always kind of, and I know that you, even in the beginning, said like you're able to hear yourself more, right?
Yeah.
And connect with that more, but have you always kind of had a little bit of that, like that strong intuition and just known there was something kind of different or something like that, and then been able to like put more words to it and clarity with it?
Yeah. So as a side note, most recently I saw a psychic and she told me that I have psychic in my lineage. So I'm like, oh, maybe I am a psychic. But
I think we're all born pretty psychic.
oh yeah. So it's benefited me in like the most like traditional ways. Like friends, boyfriends, breakups, cheating. I'm like, no, I can feel it. Something is not right here. Like, let me do a little bit of digging. Like my intuition will tell me something and then I'll dig a little bit and then find it. So one time I had a friend who we thought for sure her boyfriend, well, I thought for sure he was cheating. There was really no sign. Like no sign. I'm like, I think this guy is in Vegas, but I don't think it's for work. So what did I do?
Went to Vegas. No, I'm just kidding. Maybe.
Hopped on a flight to Vegas with my magnifying glass and my trench coat and was like, I'm spying on you. No, I literally went through, this is like this one's cinchy, but I went through his whole.
I love that you've used the word cinchy twice because I like completely forgot that word existed. So for anyone who doesn't know, cinchy, like easy. It's easy, simple.
Cinchy is easy. Yeah.
But like we're bringing back some like OG slang here.
90s.
I love it. I love it so much.
And so I went through all of his friends on Instagram, watched all their stories to see who tagged Vegas.
Yeah.
Found a random girl, saw his side profile in that story. Yes. Followed, kept checking in on the stories, and then saw in the background he was with another girl in her stories.
Yo, and here, okay. 1, that's amazing. 2, women, like, I don't know if men have that capability, but like, let me tell you, like, I need a fucking name and a picture and we can find out so much shit.
Done. Most recently, I can't quite share all of this on the podcast. We can talk about this offline. I suspected that somebody was lying about something online and raising money around it. I Googled all of it.
A GoFundMe, like a fake GoFundMe for like a dying person or something. Oh, was it somebody you knew or like a famous person? Or like a public figure type person?
Somebody.
I'm just trying to get my facts so then I can do the research. Just kidding.
Well, the GoFundMe's been taken down. They raised a lot of money and I looked up a few photos and they were like wrong. Yeah. It's still an ongoing investigation. So yeah.
Like your own?
No.
Or like legit now?
Legit now.
Okay. I was like, is this investigation with a little I or a big I?
A big I. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
So, I know. And honestly, like when all of it first happened, I told my husband, I don't think this is real. And he's like, you cannot say that. I'm like, this doesn't feel real to me. Yeah. And it wasn't.
Oh, I've only had one situation where I couldn't get off, like figure out it. Yeah. And it was like a man that I was involved with who was a pathological liar, possibly like for sure narcissist, possibly on the psychopath end of things.
Yeah.
And so fucking smart. I was like, hey, you beat me on that one.
You know what's sick? The correlation between codependency and narcissist people. That really, I'm working through a lot of shame around that because I like those words are like stigma words.
Yeah. Because, well, I mean, we can like this, because that was like so much of the research I did last year because healing that wound for myself. And it's, a lot of people who are codependent are attracted to narcissistic people, right? And narcissistic people are attracted to codependent people, right? It's this fucked up trauma bond,
it's
like
sick. It's
codependent.
It's literally
from both directions.
And you know what's even crazier is that if narcissists, like they'll love bomb right in the beginning and hype you up about like everything, even just not in like a relationship, like boyfriend, girlfriend, or partner situation, like generally, right? Like hype up you, your accolades, all of the worth things that you've already tied your worth to. Nothing truly about yourself. And what sucks is that when that happens to a codependent person will hold on to that initial like love bombing forever and put up with
but it was
so much.
Good. It was so good. Yeah. He sees me. He really gets me. All this kind
you
of
will
stuff.
put up with so much because somebody has acknowledged your perceived worth. It's sick. It is so sick.
This will be a fun conversation for another time to go deeper. Because I also think like there's very real like spiritual shit going on with that kind of dynamic too.
Ooh.
Right? Because like narcissists they don't experience empathy in the same way that a healthy person does, right? And this is you can have narcissistic traits without being a full-blown like narcissist, right? Everyone has certain narcissistic traits, right? And people who are really like, true narcissists, they don't experience empathy, right? So they literally cannot understand what it would be like to be in someone else's shoes and stuff. And which is why like their behavior is so self-serving and so manipulative, right? Because it's only what's going to make them feel better. And the irony of both of those, like the codependent and the narcissist, is they both have such deep self-worth wounds and they get that quote unquote fulfillment, or so they think, from the other person. So it's like such a fucked up. Ooh. Anyway,
it's sick.
More on that later.
I know.
Okay. So some lighter things, right? Like I love what you've talked about with like creating a vision, value statement, goal setting, your like positive vibes only stuff. Let's actually, I would like speak into your kind of goal setting and like vision setting habits. And also I think I laughed when I listened to where you and Cam graded yourself on last year and you got a D.
Oh my God. Talk about like fucked up, like really triggering my performatism.
I know, like I was a straight A student.
I know, we definitely got a D, but it's like,
and then you're like, I made this test too, and I failed it.
I literally created this test, failed it. But here's the thing. We got an A in finance.
Our trauma.
I know. I don't know if I talked about this on the podcast, but so let me just give some context. For our New Year's goal setting, it's like a very complex isn't the word, but there's a lot of thought and a lot of intention and a lot of like planning that goes into that for Cam and I. We've been doing it for the past, like, I don't know, 6 years or so. So every year it's gotten like more and more refined. Yeah. This past year, what we did is we wrote down, we counted how many goals we had. It just so happened to be 100. Some categories
some are like small, right? It might be like little things to cross off the list to get to the milestone. Yeah.
Right. So some categories had way more than other categories. Some had just a little bit, like it wasn't really evenly spread throughout the board. And the categories are faith, career, finance, home. I think maybe it's just those 4. We had a miscellaneous category last year. I don't think we have one this year. And Yeah, we got like C's and D's. I think maybe mostly C's and D's and F's. But finance, we got an A.
I remember that. I'm always going to remind you just in case you forgot to mention.
Yeah, we got an A in finance, which trickled into giving like a really high B in miscellaneous because that cup ran over, right? And helped support the others. But really the reason why we had an A in finance that I attribute to is because we had like touch points with it. We have a financial advisor that we go to several times a month. So there's like tracking with our goals, which is what I attribute to why we hit them. We didn't have that same level of tracking with our other goals, which makes sense as to why they're like halfway achieved. So yeah.
So some of the, and like, I guess some of the takeaways for that, right? Tracking, clarity,
accountability, all of that. So I'm super confident. I mean, we had a great year. D sounds so bad. Like we hit a lot of goals.
Well, and sometimes too, like, is there any part of that you're like, oh, we like overdid it with what we thought we could do, right? Is any of that true?
I do think that if we had the same metric set up, if we had the same situation set up for like to set us up for success that we did with finance, that we would have hit all the rest of the goals. Like, and this is maybe with hindsight eyes, like those goals felt really big, at the beginning of last year, but at the end, I'm like, no, we could have totally done that. Like some of the stuff I still have on the goals that like I need to hit this year. Want to hit this year, not for validation, but because I myself wants to.
Beautiful.
You see my self-worth showing.
Healing in action. Healing in action. That I would love to. That would be so nice, but it won't. Like if I don't hit it, like I'll survive.
Yeah. Like some of the things on there was like, get my eyebrows microbladed. Like there's like, just to put in context, like the type of things that we have on there. Like this year for me is like floss and brush my teeth every night. Like things, you know?
Yeah. Do you drive somewhere every day? This is random.
No.
Okay, never mind. Because like what's helped me get better
I thought you were going to say floss in the car. Do you floss in the car?
I am going to say floss in the car. Yeah.
Oh.
Those little fucking flossers. I have a bag of them in my car.
And you just...
I floss more in the car probably than like the bathroom or my home.
Wow. What do you do with the crumbs that you pull out? Where do those go?
I don't have
You don't have not anything comes out of anything in your teeth?
Like maybe a little bit.
Where does it go?
What
do you do with it?
Disgusting. I don't know. And just like fling it, like, eat it. Like, I don't know, recycle it through my body.
I'm definitely a flinger or an eater. But if I'm in the bathroom, I run.
It was already in your mouth. It was already in your mouth.
You're like, why do I keep pulling the same thing out? Like, you just keep putting it back in your mouth.
It keeps finding it's like, this is my home. Tries to jump back into the little tooth crack.
Like, I move every 24 hours. I find a new home every 24 hours.
Oh my gosh. It's like a little hermit crab. What? Okay. Anyway, I was about to like give you a really little flossing life hack.
I love how honest you were. I'll eat it or fling it. Like, what do you think I do with it? Because you have to do something with it because you're not going to re-floss your tooth and just stick it back in.
Put it back in. Yeah. You don't leave it on the thing. But I also don't find that too much shit comes out when I floss.
Yeah, me either.
No, I'm sure. Question. I think we're getting out.
Oh man.
Oh dear. Okay. Anyway, on to the next topic. Okay, so positive vibes only, new mantra. And something about that is you've talked about developing a tolerance for or
sensitivity to negativity.
Sensitivity to negativity. So you used to have like high tolerance for negativity, right? Same. Even if it's not negativity, like, but like I would say sometimes like a high tolerance for darkness, which sometimes isn't bad because I can alchemize that really well. But like, yes, sensitivity to negativity. Tell me more.
Yeah. So I realized that This was in my like cocoon season after I shut the agency down. I got very heavy into Joe Dispenza, and where I told you like I was trying to create a life that I wanted without actually like realizing what I needed to undo before I got there. So I was was very into meditating and had like really beautiful experiences in my meditations, and the feeling that I was able to create for the life and the that I'm living, that I wanna live for my future, I figured out how to create that, like, in like, just now. You know what I mean? Like, if I wanna be that, like, I know how to, like, get myself to that state. And
Mhm.
so, in the mornings, I'll do that, in the afternoons, I'll do that, at night, I'll do it to just, like, kinda get me back to just feeling, like, very high vibe. As I was doing that, especially if I would, like, come into contact with someone who was low vibe, I would just be like, "Oh my god, like, I cannot even be around you, like, it's, like,
Yeah.
sad over here."
Like when energy feels like, because as a very intuitive and empathic person, fun fact, I think that we are, many of us are born with high empathy. And I think that's a spiritual gift. And high empathy is also a result of trauma in a lot of
Yeah.
cases.
Mhm.
And so I also think ADHD is as well. And more on that later. Um, but yeah, because like if you're needing to be hyper aware of your surroundings in order to keep you safe, emotionally, physically, mentally, whatever it is, like you're going to be so aware of every
Right.
fucking thing going on around you, energy
Right.
included. Um, but yeah, so sometimes with like low vibes, right? Like energetically, to me, sometimes it's like like there's a almost a texture that you feel energetically, like a like scratching on a chalkboard, or just some
Mhm.
like a energetically feels yucky, right?
Yeah.
Like and you can feel it in your body, and it may not make sense, right? But you're like, oh no,
No,
you're a
thanks.
no. Like I can't,
No,
like,
thanks.
why are you talking so loudly? Or like why, like eh.
Yeah. 2 instances. One was, my husband was working at a job at the time that, like, it just started to begin to get, like, progressively toxic, and he was not
Mm,
happy there. Like, at all, he wasn't happy there, and when he would come home or when I would talk to him, it was like, I just didn't even wanna be around him because he was so low vibe.
yeah, because he was absorbing that.
Right, right, but I could feel, and I'm just like, "This is just too much, I just don't even wanna be around you, like, you are not in a good mood. This is too much for me." And so that happened, like, here, like, in my home, but, like, I had gone to coffee with, like, an acquaintance once, and she was I could it's just so weird, like, I could just see her energy that, like, "I know why you have, like, trouble in life." I felt like that. I felt like, "I know why you have
Mm,
trouble in life, and it's because you see life like how you see life. Like, the
mhm,
glasses that you have on, you're not getting, like, the fulfillment that you want because you see the world so negatively."
mm, mhm.
I didn't tell her that though, but that's what I thought. Because also what I've noticed too, like, some things you have to ask for permission.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
And
Yeah, being
I've been
like,
in the
"Hi, you're the cause of your misery." Maybe
yeah.
not, like, always the best thing to say to somebody you care about.
No, no. She was talking to me about something, some, like, disorder, an autoimmune, and I felt like I probably coulda had more empathy in this situation, and it just came out. And I was like, "Oh, yeah, you could heal yourself." And I'm like, I just wanted to pull those words right back, like, as they're coming out of my mouth, because I think how that came off was that it was, like, belittling
Right, right.
the thing,
Yeah,
but really, I'm like, you gotta change your mind."
yeah.
So, take that for what you will. People might hate me for that, but I
No, whatever.
truly
Like,
believe it.
and like, I mean, even like me talking about my shit and challenges and stuff, I'm like, trust me, I know my soul did this to me.
I know the reason why I have an
I know
autoimmune
I
is because my
yeah, I'm
soul did
like,
it to me.
I know I opted into this on some
Mhm.
level,
Mhm.
and fuck me for that, but fine.
Right, right, but fine, we're here, I'm committed. So,
Yeah.
yeah, um, but yeah, like, even when it comes to, like, healing yourself, I'm like, I'm a very firm believer in that, and I'm also a firm believer in, like, you kinda create a lot of the diseases that you have.
Yes.
It's no surprise that my autoimmune began to go away when I started to do therapy.
Yep. I had that happen when I was in therapy in 2019. I was having chronic sciatica, like piriformis syndrome issues. So like serious nerve pain from like low back to feet and both legs, like within 2 minutes of sitting down. And it went away within a month, I think, of going to therapy. Completely went away. I didn't change anything I was doing physically.
Yeah.
Went away. I was like, ha,
yeah, you're so funny, buddy.
Yeah. Like, of course.
You little thing.
I'm like, I know this shit too. And there we are. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. A few more things with our last few minutes here. Well, actually on that sensitivity to negativity thing, one, how have you developed more sensitivity to that? And then how do you navigate when you're feeling like you're in a negative energy situation? But then also, so like 3 questions in here. Don't you think that we also need to be able to handle a certain threshold of negativity without taking it on, right?
Yeah. The codependent in me takes on other people. Well, the human design in me takes on other people's like energies. The codependent person in me takes on other people's energies and thinks that they're my own.
Yeah.
So for me, I leave some of those situations if they're clearly not mine and I'm not involved and I don't know them. One example was I was at coffee at a community table with people working. These girls were talking, older women, about this other lady who was like lying about stuff and created this whole facade, very like catfishy story. But the conversation got past the story and was like more about her, this woman that they were talking about. And it was very negative, and I was in such a like high vibe mood going there, sitting down, like opening up my computer. Like I was like, we're going to work. It's going to be so great. And then I realized, oh, I feel different. And then I'm taking inventory, like, why do I feel different? Why do I feel different? What happened? What triggered me to feel different? I've been in a like discovery phase, a self-discovery phase, if you will. So if I start to feel different, I start to rewind my thoughts. Like, what did I just say? What did I just think? What was the thing that has changed my mind or changed how I feel? Because no more of that. And it's interesting when you start to take inventory of those things, especially if you start to write them down, you could see patterns in it. And then, good luck working through that. You can do it, but it's a thing. And I realized that my mood changed when I started to listen to their conversation and it started to get like negative and like shit talky vibe. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I'm just going to get up and leave. I'm just going to go. I'm just going to go. I'm going to get in a better mood in the car, go to another coffee shop that I like, and just find my own high vibes over there.
Yeah.
The other thing as it relates to taking on things that aren't mine, I had this experience, this spiritual experience where I was really tapped into my subconscious. That could have been a Freudian slip. And in that experience, my subconscious told me that you take on these stories as your own and you can explore them, but they're just corners. That's all they are, is corners. And then it made me think like, wow, corner, like
what do you mean?
Corner, like corner of a room.
Okay. Like a dead end, almost.
A dead end.
Okay.
If you want to explore more of yourself, you can. But the stories of other people, the feelings and negativity, they're not yours. And so I started to begin to lean into that more and start to write down when I would talk to people about their things, because I'm a very empathetic person. When I would talk to people about their thing, even if I felt like I had a glimmer of that in me, you know, if someone's telling you a story or if you're listening right now and you're like, oh, am I codependent? Like, you could be, you could not be, but it's up to you to explore to determine whether or not that is you. Now, someone else can say, oh, I noticed this tendency, or when Aisha talked about this story, I realize that I have that pattern in me. It could not mean that you're codependent, but how I would take that on is, oh, am I codependent? Is there something that I'm missing in my world that I haven't seen? And now I feel like, wow, Aisha's outcome that I'm listening to is going to be my outcome of my life, but that's not true. So I literally have been writing down the areas where I feel like they might be my own corners, and there's a pattern in those things.
What kind of pattern? If you care.
The pattern is around marriage.
Mm. Oh,
and
it's one of mine too.
Yeah. So yeah, it's like, I don't even remember what the question was, but like all of it's in your mind. Everything you want to know, you have. It's there. And yeah. We're getting real deep.
I know. This is so fun. Fun.
Yeah.
Okay, so your word for 2023 is self.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
With a capital S.
Yeah. I wrote it in all caps in my notes. What does that mean to you? And what is that intention?
The intention for me is understanding the difference between myself and my ego. The best way to describe it, because I know we say like ego death, and all these like words where you can assign your own meaning to them if you don't know the true definition, right? Like narcissism, codependency. Like I thought codependency was like, hang out with me, don't leave.
Needy. Yeah, needy. I'm like, I'm not codependent.
I don't need anyone.
I'm not needy at all. Right? Ew. And then I'm like, oh, fuck, that's not necessarily what it looks like.
Right. You're like, I actually check off all the codependency boxes.
Yeah.
So as it relates to self, you have trigger words or like just words that you feel like you know. And for me, the best way to kind of like give meaning to it is like, I feel like my ego is an Enneagram 3 and my self is a self-projecting projector on human design. Like those are my two people. They're all me, but that's how I feel like the characteristics that they embody. Now, because I'm working on building up my self-worth, things that I inherently like to do or do for me or show up for myself, I'm learning what those things are. Showing up for little Aisha, like who I was when I was a little girl. I don't entirely know, and I'm learning what that is. That's the self-exploration. That I feel like is capital S, self. Now, self also means supporting myself in creating boundaries around the things that I want to keep and the things that I don't want to keep. While also giving myself grace in this discovery phase, because what comes up is shame. Like I talked about the narcissism stuff. There's so much shame around that being a part of my story.
Yeah.
There's so much shame around the characteristics of codependency, right? So it's just like having grace with all of that. That is what self means for this year, and making sure that I'm constantly like recalibrating until I feel fulfilled in myself, not for my external self or what people think.
Yeah. And it's this kind of stuff too, it's a journey, right? Not a destination. Like there isn't necessarily an end where I'm like, oh, I'm all figured out and I'm all completely healed.
Right.
We did it. Right. Like it's an ongoing evolution and journey. And like, you're never going to be the same person you were yesterday. Right. No matter what. And also with healing, right. It's not always linear. No. Like even just what I said, like about feeling like the like fearful, avoidant attachment stuff come up this week. I'm like, what? Like the spectrum of thoughts on like what, like the trigger and then where I've gone with it is so fascinating. I'm like, wow, we can go fast into some fucking extreme shit, right?
Yeah, like, totally. Okay. Totally. And the beauty of it, I feel like, is getting it out. And either what I've been doing is I've been talking out loud to myself through thoughts. So it's like less crazy. I mean, it's still very crazy. I'm by myself talking to myself, but like it helps me hear the words that are being said so that I can process them. Like when it's just in my mind, it's like my cat's coming to say hi. When it's just in my mind, it can go crazy quick.
Yes.
But when I say out loud how crazy I'm being, then I'm like, oh, okay, you're a little crazy.
All right. So one of the things you said, about having a lot of shame around like the codependency stuff around these wounds. And one, like, I think that's a very normal response, right? And something that I've felt a lot, especially over the last year, as I kind of came to the awareness of like, oh, wait, that like, because 2022 was big awareness around, oh, wait, like I have a really deep narcissistic abuse wound. And it's not like, so does my mother, so does my maternal grandmother. I'm like, oh, this is like in our fucking lineage, you know? And so coming to terms with that and even saying that like gets me emotional because I'm like, ooh, like this, that's what a generational curse looks like. Like, look at the patterns through generations, right? And so much of like my work this past year was coming to that realization of like, oh, I've had a lot of this shit, you know? And then there's like this feeling like you're a victim. And then like, no, I can heal. I'm doing the healing of it. But then too, something that's kind of been coming up for me recently, and especially this past week as like my attachment styles been activated, I was like there was this feeling of like, this is stuff that I may never fix. Like there were like, which is a dark, like, yes, you can heal it and improve it, but it may not be something. Some of these things may never go away, right? You may just learn how to manage them better and find a partner who is a great teammate in supporting you and helping you have your needs met and stuff. But it's like, there was some real, like some breakthrough, I don't know, realization of like, oh no, this is also like how I'm wired. Like some of this shit, like, and that trauma, like shaped my brain differently, right? Like that kind of abuse that creates brain damage, you know, like, and so, oh, I'm getting emotional there. And so there was this feeling of like, especially in the last like week and a half of being like, oh no, I'm like very fundamentally fucked up, which is so dark and not the right thing to say to yourself at all, right? Adding more shame, onto the wounds, not effective. But I binge listened to the attachment, like Master Your Attachment Style book yesterday. And it's like a 2.5 hour book. So it's like real quick.
Oh, I'm going to do that.
And and one of the things that he goes through in it is he talks about the strengths of all the attachment styles, even the insecure ones. Right. And so that was one of the things that I was like, oh yeah, like, cause you can't shame your way into healing. It doesn't work because you're adding shame onto like an already not fun, not good feeling thing, right? It doesn't work. Don't compound don't like deal with the main thing. Don't add shame to it. Like then you're dealing with two things. Right. And so it's like, okay, like, yes, I can pursue deeper healing. And like, this is where I'm at right now. So accept myself fully while I'm navigating this, while I'm exploring more healing. And like, let's look at the strengths of where I'm at in this season and how I'm currently wired, right? Now, not look at the strengths so hard so that you stay in that place, right? But like this idea of giving more grace and gentleness as you're navigating, like that was something that for me, like literally like came through yesterday. I was like, oh no, like, this is where I'm at. And I don't like XYZ and that stuff doesn't feel good. And it's not really effective for the outcomes that I want, but also like the strengths that are coming with that right now are right?
Right. It's so interesting that you say, thanks for sharing that, by the way. And allowing yourself to be vulnerable. It's so interesting that you say like, you can't like, or not to shame upon shame. There's so many people that has worked so well.
Yeah.
Like that fear, that scarcity will get them through perceivably it, right? But it's just masked. It's just pushed down until your new baseline is like untangible anymore. Like you cannot tolerate it, right? Like, I was talking with my husband and at one point and I was like, yeah, you know, like lately at the gym, I feel like I've been looking at I have had a lot of negative self-talk when I see how I look at the gym. He's like, oh, I always talk shit to myself. I'm like, really? Because this isn't feeling great.
See, but I think men and women are different, because when women and women interact, we don't do that. So in the man I'm dating, we've talked about that a lot too, where like guys, like, yeah, they shit on each other, but they don't carry it a lot of the time.
Right.
And it does motivate and inspire them.
Yeah. Except for my husband, eventually it just got so bad. Like,
okay,
he couldn't hold on to it that long, like, or couldn't do it, especially if it's gotten you like to work out, make your body look better. Like, okay, that's great, but it can only take you so far. Like,
right.
It's like motivation. Like, motivation expires. Like, resiliency, consistency, like falling in love with the process, that'll keep you through and through.
Yeah. And two, one of the things with that, because yeah, shame on shame. And yeah, it can be a motivator. Scarcity can be a motivator. But if you don't, as you like, once you have the breakthrough that was sparked by the scarcity or sparked by the shame or sparked by the self-hate, like however we want to go with this, once you have the breakthrough and you get to the next level of that, if you don't then do the healing for whatever the root cause of that was, you just repeat that, but on a bigger scale. And that was one of the things that the big breakthroughs I had this past year was being like, okay, yeah, I've done so much work on so many things, my self-worth, people pleasing, overachieving, like codependency stuff, attachment styles, right? Like so much work, money mindset. And so my baseline and my comfort zone financially with success, all of that has improved enormously, right? Amazing. We've done effective work there. But then I know, like last year, I was like, or at the end of the year, came to the realization, I was like, oh, but I'm still in a trauma bond with my money and with my bank account. It's a different amount and all that, but I still really am addicted to making things really fucking hard and really all or nothing in order to get me to the next level. And that's so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And like, it works-ish, but I'm like, nope, we're not doing that anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you can be in this like paralyzing space where in my cocoon season, I was in a paralyzing space where I realized that I would do those things to myself, but I didn't know any other way to get success or to achieve success. And so I'm stagnant because I'm like, okay, well, I know if I go down this road, I will get it, but it'll cost me my life.
Yes.
Where else do I go? I don't know.
Yeah. So I'll not do anything. Yep. I had that in 2021. So 2020 was a lot of like major spiritual awakening, ended my marriage that year, like business momentum really took off. Like so many things happened in all the ways. And that was when I really started to like feel my masculine feminine energy balance. Like my masculine was overworked, exhausted, all that kind of stuff. The feminine was like non-existent. And so I started really like trusting the feminine, strengthening the feminine. Beautiful, amazing. Like saw so many results from that. And then 2021 was like, I was only in the feminine and then went into toxic feminine because I was like, well, no, if I go into the masculine, we know where that leads, and I was like, and so 2021, I literally was like, I don't think I can ever focus on something again. I can't stick to deadlines. I can't complete things. Like if I don't feel like doing it, I will not do it. And I was like, and that happened for months and months and months and months and months too. And then I was like, this is not an effective long-term strategy. It's working right now, but it's not effective. We're going to have to figure out how to like balance these. And for me, 2022 was really harmonizing the two. And I'm like, oh, we know how to play together in a healthy way. Great. But I had that where I was like, no, we can't set deadlines. Like I can't, like, no, masculine is scary.
Right.
The structure,
oh my gosh,
consistency is so scary.
I feel you on all of that.
Yeah. So one of the things that you said in one of your podcasts, which I've I forget the exact way that I've talked to this about with somebody else about, but like a friend of yours said like, oh, are you playing small, that sort of thing. And then talking about like how essentially the idea that you're not necessarily living up to God's vision for you. Right. Like, and so like this idea of, and I'm gonna like not get it exactly right or how I want to say it, but like, you know, God gives us the gift of life, and then it's our responsibility to like live it in a way that like honors him. And by doing that, right, like what that looks like is going to be different for everybody.
Right.
But like striving for, achieving, and living your greatest potential, like that honors God, whether that is being like the best mom, the best wife, like all the things, like having a business, you name it. But like, yeah, I loved how you said that. Like, and yeah, because like settling, great. Like, is that what you want? I don't know. But like, if you believe in, you know, higher consciousness and stuff like that, it's like, yo, do you know like what God knows that you're capable of? Like, do you have any fucking idea?
Right. And it is very, it brings you, it grounds you a little bit, but then it also propels you when you say, okay, if you were to die and then God looks at you and says, this is the plan that I had for you, would that mirror to your life? I know. Would that mirror to the life that you've lived to this point? I'm just like, I think like right now I feel like I'm at least on the path of that because I'm trying to do the work of undoing.
Yes. Same.
So it wakes you up when you are like, okay, when you look in that mirror, will it be you or not? I know. I know.
Yeah. I'm like, well, and like I agree with what you just said. I'm like, all the things that I have planned and envisioned for my life today, no, is the answer. Right. No, it's not, you know, and same with what you said. I'm like, and I think that, well, not I think, I know that like last year, like I made some big declarations last year, like in my business and stuff like that, and like even personal life and things. And it did not in any way go how I thought it would at all. Like some amazing things happened, some not amazing things, some challenge, like all of that. Like it just didn't go in any way how I thought it would at all. And I'm like, and like, I actually like, especially right up until literally like New Year's Eve, like the last minute of 2022, I was like, no, but I actually like did the like cellular exorcism this year. Like we started it a few years ago, you know, and we deepened and deepened and deepened and all that. I was like, no, but we like actually went there in 2022 and did the full fucking exorcism of the shit. So like
you upgraded your DNA in 2022.
Yeah. And it was wild too, because in the end of the year, as like I said, like so many things happened in like a 72-hour period, 48-hour period, like from, you know, the quickest way to say it, essentially somebody stealing a lot of money from me. My passive income, which like covers my expenses that I was very much like relying on as I was, you know, like restructuring things in one of my businesses. Right. So like that was in jeopardy of completely disappearing literally in an instant. It didn't, and everything's fine. But like that, like there was some hiccups there. And then like I had just paid a fuck ton in taxes. So like so many things piled all within the same like few day span right at the end of the year. And for me, I was like, okay, what I want to do. And there was one point where I just like had an anxiety attack, like naked on the floor in the bathroom, in my bedroom. Right. And then like crawled my way into a cold shower and saying affirmations and shit. I'm like, I can, you know,
it's so funny. Like when things happen, we like take ourselves there, like singing songs. You're like, I can help. I don't know how to get out of here. Snot, slobber everywhere.
I'm like, this is going to make me stronger. And this is happening for me. Right. Like all that. But and I was like, okay, it would be really easy and more comfortable, quote unquote, right, to cry in bed all day long and ignore all of this and like have somebody rescue me, right? You know? And I was like, but then I'm just doing the same shit. And then this is going to come back and happen in a different way, this pattern. So we're going to like lean in, ask for support, and take like literally one foot in front of the other, the baby steps, and just like keep going and lean into it no matter how uncomfortable. And as I was doing that, I could viscerally feel like energetic shit falling off of me. Yeah, I could feel the shedding. It was surreal. Yeah. So
Healing's beautiful. It's a lot of work and a lot of tears, but honestly, it's so beautiful. And like, it is butterfly season, right? Like you had to go through that undoing to like live fully in a butterfly season.
Yeah. And so that's where I'm like, okay, like one, I know that God is proud of me, right? Like I know that for sure. Like always, even when like the vision, what I'm doing in his vision isn't exactly there. Like he still is, right? Like unconditional love.
Unconditionally. Yes. Yeah. Not fostering any codependency. Unconditional love. Yeah.
Exactly. And so like, and like, okay, like I get why that happened. And like, yeah. So we're gonna make it happen. Not like because I need to like make God proud, because again, it's for me. We're not doing this in a codependent way, right? But like realizing how much space was created and to actually step into like what I have envisioned for myself and what I was planning on really jumping into like last year. And I was like, oh no, but we had to really go to the depths to do that.
Right. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm proud of you.
Thank you. I'm proud of you too.
Thank you.
Okay. On that note, this was a juicy one. I guess usually I'm going to end us with like a slightly different question. Usually it's about like how to live your most like amplified, aligned, unapologetic life, which still the answer will be similar. But yeah, for people who maybe have just gone through their cocoon season and are feeling like they've stepped into butterfly season, like what is a like final kind of like mic drop word of wisdom ending note to leave them with?
It's beautiful on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
It gets better. Like we will always be going through ebbs and flows of cocoon seasons and butterfly seasons. And sometimes you can be doing both. Like right now, I definitely feel like on the outside, people probably think that I'm living a butterfly season. And yes, like the perception, but I'm very much cocoon season, like doing a lot of inner work.
Yeah.
Like my purgatory is still pretty, right? This transition is can still be beautiful. And so can your cocoon season. Like cocoon season doesn't have to look ugly. It can feel ugly, but it doesn't have to look ugly if you don't want it to. If you want it to look ugly, that's fine too, right? But with my hindsight eyes, the grass is greener on the other side. It does get better from here, but we just have to like stomach the undoing.
Yes. Yeah, I love that. And yeah, I feel like, I'm not like the wings aren't out. I'm like, but the like little front hands and the little nose are poking through the cocoon.
Nuzzling
we're
through.
We're getting ready. Right?
Your wings are just so big and bushy that they need time to come out.
It's going to take a little time to unfold, but like they're happening. All right. This was amazing. Thank you so much for joining and having like such a real, raw, honest conversation. Where can everybody find you?
The easiest way, honestly, is just through Instagram, AISHA, at AISHA. Very simple.
I love that you snagged your first name.
Oh my gosh.
On Instagram.
I snagged it. No one had it. And I snagged it when you could actually reach someone on Instagram back in like 2011. I emailed them and said, hey, copyright purposes or trademark. I don't know what I said. They're like, okay, here you go.
Amazing.
Thank you, guys.
I love it.
So that's the best way to find me. You can find everything else from there. My jewelry line, Whxte Atelier.
I know we didn't even talk about Whxte. Yes, go check it out, everybody. Like, they're beautiful pieces.
Yeah. But my Instagram is like the hub for it all. So yeah.
Amazing. Same. Well, thank you so much. This was amazing. And hope you all got so much value out of this episode. Be sure to screenshot, post it to your stories, DM us takeaways, whatever. Thank you for listening.